Yes, we have the body, the conditions here, and the record as has been made, and as will be made, both in the present and past and future, as we see from conditions existing in the present sphere or aura of the individual. All is not good, yet in many phases of Earth's sphere, known as success, this individual will rise high, yet ever those of the wandering forces, as gained from the influences of the Mercury and Neptune forces, will be in this entity's doing and undoing. As to time of completeness of present entity, we find it was after the forces had made of the spherical forces the entity's abode, for the completeness came some 40 minutes as time is counted after birth, under them the influence of Mercury, Neptune, Venus, Jupiter afar, and in certain stages being the factor that should be used with all forces to the upbuilding of the present sphere. Saturn and Mars afflicting, Moon's forces being Earth's spheres. Hence the entity's ability to handle all those forces in nature that come from Earth's storehouse, and any of the elements of this nature become the speculative forces for the financial returns to this body in the Earth plane. The greater returns will come within the next 5 months, provided on the day when the forces are under the influence of Uranus and Jupiter's forces the Mercurian elements are submerged in those conditions. One with the afflictions of the forces as given in Mars and Saturn will and does make one slow to wrath, but subtle in the ultra extent in carrying out purposes, good or bad. One that in the greater development will find moments, hours, years of sublime forces entering in with the great vision of Venus and Jupiter forces, yet holding these rather as ideals than making of these forces a reality in his own experience. These of the Moon and Sun's forces we find working as antagonistic in the development of financial forces and Mercurian elements, yet one that will oft times have within his grasp the highest influences of financial force in Earth plane. As to forces with the will as established in self, the entity would do well to keep in that straight and narrow way that leadeth to life everlasting, giving of itself in the moments and hours of the Jupiterian forces is found in the next 5 months, that is the Earth forces. In the elements is made for the entity's association with others would come January and June and December, near those of its own weak forces, for in union there is strength. That is, those whose likes and dislikes accord with this individual in the astrological realm. In the personalities of the individual we find that obtained from these conditions. Before this we find this portion of entity in that of the Grecian age, when the fall of the government was under the rule of the idealists and the materialists became the ruling force of the day. This entity, as then, was the leading force in the minority at the time. Hence was often referred to as the weakling of the in that before we find the entity as that of the leader as chosen for the first king, Saul, in and with the chosen people, and was the herder as sought the lost animals of his father, when appointed as the leader. 1 Samuel, chapter 9, verse 2, chapter 11, verse 15. Hence we find in this present sphere those elements bringing through in this personality and individuality those as in this, in the first the one chosen of the higher elements. Hence ever those forces about this entity where, though all others fail, this one may, through direct self-control, gain those forces of the higher and highest realms in the present plane. In the second that forces is manifested in the great thoughts and ideals builded about self, yet ever just beyond carrying those to execution, may be done by sheer will and by adhering to those immutable laws that give self the insight of the forces that lend to the upbuilding of all force relative to the higher elements. In stature from that of all force, as is given, ever has the entity been under the influences of Mercurian elements. We are through.